The track at Road Atlanta is going into its 20th season next year. What are some of the keys to victory for this kind of historic and I think very well received track within the series?
I think this is one of those tracks where you got to be prepared for anything and everything. We usually see some kind of weather here, and forecast says some rain on Friday. You know, it tends to turn into a little bit more of a rallycross course at that point. But it's really, I feel like it's a track where anything can happen. It's personally one of my favorite tracks where we've done well, and we've also done really, really poorly. So it's always hard to know what to expect here.
This track is going into second round after a track that had so many walls at Long Beach. The driving, at least, approach for me is very different. You got to drive so much more aggressively. There's a lot more chances you could take. Yeah, you can run off course, but you know, there's not as many walls around here. So I feel like everyone really turns it up because of that and drives really aggressively here. So you just kind of have to get in that more aggressive groove, and there's a little bit less risk involved, although there is a wall. Some of us have found it. But yeah, it's just one of those faster, more aggressive tracks, and I think that's the kind of the approach everyone's taking here.
I think if you want to not generalize what it takes to win any event and you want to break it down to Road Atlanta specifically, for me, I think coming up the hill and coming into the keyhole, so outer zone 1 and outer zone 2, right? Entry's not outer zone 1. That's the key. Like if you could set your car up to be quick up the hill and still be able to fill all of the zones, chances are you're going to do pretty good. It's almost like clockwork. You see, as soon as you go into battle, people start missing zones. So my goal is to not miss any zones, and I'm going to try to win.
All right, now that we got the generalities out of the way, let's rip the Band-Aid off. Okay, first question is for Matt Field. It got a bit tense there in Long Beach in the wreck with Freddie. Now that you've had time to process what happened and also fix the car, indeed, if you did get married and also run a business, what can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, this is one of the weekends that I feel like I get to relax a little bit. It's been full throttle nonstop since Long Beach, wedding, honeymoon, getting the car ready, testing, loaded up. Now we're here. So it's been a wild couple weeks for sure. I think that after being able to process it, I'm incredibly thankful that the car was able to be straightened out. That's the biggest thing. It was munched. I wasn't 100% sure, but I'm very fortunate that I have an amazing frame guy, Hector, and he basically shut down his entire business to put my car on the frame rack for 3 days. And if I didn't have something like that, there's a strong possibility that we wouldn't be able to be here. So putting that in his hands and then coming back from my honeymoon and having a straight car that was painted. My body guy, again, stopped everything, painted the chassis, you know, the front half of the chassis in 1 day, Carlos from No End Customs. And I was able to come back and put the car together and be extremely focused. So I'm thankful for that and thankful for those people. And then I'm also thankful for the Drift Cave guys. Like, they basically told me, Matt, shut the hell up. Go enjoy your honeymoon. Enjoy getting married. We got this. And, of course, I'm texting them every 10 minutes. Did you remember this? Did you weld that plate in? Did you get those new subframe bolts? So besides all that, I'm thankful that we were able to get on the podium. It's funny because I never even got to process or think on top of all the crap that went through with the car. Like, we got second place. We're sitting second in the championship. That's not anything to turn your nose up about, but it was really last week that I think that I realized, like, oh, wow, we did. And that was when I went to pull the trophy out of the trailer because it was just strewn about in the trailer. And once I pulled that trophy out, I was like, wow, we're sitting second in the championship with a long road to go, a car that's straight, a team that absolutely kills it, and a determination and a mindset that we're ready to win. So overall, I think that I'm thankful for everything. I'm thankful for my wife, Diane, for putting up with everything and letting me be me on the honeymoon, and obviously the crew. Without them, we wouldn't be here, so let's do it. Round 2, baby.
All right, turning to Freddie, just to get your side of things. You seem quite disappointed and apologetic after the crash with Matt Field in Long Beach. Can you recount that experience for us and give us your perspective on what happened and how you feel about it now? And was there any significant damage to your car?
So first and foremost, I'm happy to hear that Matt and the guys were able to come back, and congrats on getting married. It's a wonderful thing. And other than that, you know, it's stuff like that happens. It's something that sucks when it happens. Matt and I, we wrapped it out that night, and it is what it is. And he had every right to be disappointed in what happened. And I left it at that. I said what I felt at the moment, which was very apologetic, and obviously, on behalf of Matt and all the work they had in front of them, but also towards my team. I'm there to try and do a great job every time. And this time I was an inch too close, maybe 2 inches. No damage on my car aside of a scuff, but we also lost the ability to fight for that podium spot. And that going into round 2, all of that is in the past now. We're back to a clean slate. We're sitting fourth now, heading in here into Road Atlanta. It's a long season ahead. I've been practicing a little bit at home. I've been trying to get ready for this particular event, and that's where my focus is on now, and ready to duke it out on track.
Turning to Odie, another strong performance for you in Long Beach at the beginning of the season once again. How do you carry this trend through the middle part of the season and attempt to capture your first championship?
Yeah, I've been trying to figure that out for quite some time. We end up going pretty strong at the beginning of the season, leading the championship, and then middle of the season we end up fighting, and just always attribute it to just getting some bad luck. There's a lot of luck involved in the sport. Last season though, we figured something out. A lot of it is mental, and towards the end of the season we were getting back on that podium and getting wins, 2 of them in a row, and that felt really good, and it kind of unlocked like a different mindset a little bit. So I'm very much looking forward to using that and riding on what I finished off last season, which was kind of untypical for me to finish off winning. Usually we start out really strong. So we started out really strong and we ended really strong. So very much, I love that we broke that pattern, and it's something I'm just going to keep in the back of my head and use that for the entire season. And like I said, there's some luck involved, but I'm very optimistic and confident. So looking forward to it.
All right, pivoting back to Matt. Last year was probably the best examples of the Frenemies brand being out in the open at this particular event. Can you recount for us your back and forth with Odie last year, and tell us your side of the experience? It was definitely one for the record books.
Yeah, that was kind of a moment that Odie and I have been hoping for since we entered into this whole Frenemies thing, right? 1 and 2, going into the finals. Hadn't happened before that. And then obviously throughout the year we had a ton of battles too. So I think I'm glad the fans got to enjoy that. From my point of view, I entered, got absolutely rocked at the touch and go. Luckily we have the head restraint seats because my head bounced off of that. And then I was like, all right, we're good. We got this thing sealed. We have it wrapped up. We're going to win. No problem. Sucks the car is smoked, but we'll get it fixed. We'll get it back. We're going to win this battle. We're going to win this round. Great. And the boys had to put new tires on the car, fix the suspension, align it, get it going. And somehow in that whole thing, the tire, the wheel that they put on, the valve stem was damaged, and my wheel spun in the tire. So I'm sure you guys have seen, I straightened out going up the hill following him. They called it a one more time. The wheel had spun on the tire, and I didn't know what was going on. I thought the axle was broken or this was broken or something was messed up. And then got it one more time, went into the finals, aired down, wheel spun on the tire again. So it was kind of one of those live and learn moments where you go from 100% sure you're going to win to thinking that my car is broken. But like Odie said, luck, that's drifting. We'll see what we can do for this one. Hopefully I'll see you in the finals.
Yeah, my side, that was very accurate of slamming into Matt. Honestly, just getting to battle Matt, there's so much that happened before that, and I was so fortunate and happy and thankful to even get there in that event, because I got hit really, really hard in the battle, 2 battles prior to that, where I really thought that my car might be useless the rest of the competition. The rear subframe was bent. A lot of stuff was bent. We had to thrash so hard, and we don't have much time to make the car perfect. So I was just on one and stoked that my car was on all 4 wheels that were pointed somewhat straight, And I remember driving up to Matt right as we're about to go and just revving my car to rev limiter, just like giggling inside the car, just like I was just stoked that the thing was still together after getting slammed so hard. And I think I was a little too ambitious and too hyped up, and hence we collided. After that happened, I thought I was done. You know, that was a big mistake. It's usually pretty hard to recover from a mistake. With someone like Matt, you rely on the other opponent to make a big mistake, and Matt just doesn't do that. You know, a lot of the top guys have it in the bag after you mess up that bad. But yeah, luck was on my side, and you know, he had an issue that resulted in us going one more time despite my big deficit. So I was very thankful for that opportunity to just go and rip hard again. And yeah, I think luck was on my side that whole event because, Matt had some difficulty there as well. So, but yeah, I'm not going to play down my team because that was a huge effort to get me to that number one spot. There was a lot of difficulties before the battle with Matt, and my team did really well. And I really want to ride on that. I have the same team. We work really hard, and I want to build on that. And hopefully my team could get me to that number one spot again. But definitely looking forward to the chance to battle Matt again. That was intense, and I think the crowd loves it because, man, we all enjoyed it.
All right, now coming back to Freddie, I'm not sure if this is the most accurate assessment, but Road Atlanta seemingly has not been a hotbed of good results for you. Why do you think that is, and what, if anything, do you do differently in this year, or for this year in your approach?
So I've broken a lot of things here, partly due to my own mistakes and partly due to developing cars. A lot of our history has been to developing these new chassis, these new parts, these new ways of doing things. And I think looking back to last year, this was the first event of last year, and we lost that in top 16, and I thought that we had lost the chance to gun for the championship before we even really got started. What we did here last year is we left the car at the local shop here. Johan, thank you for all your hard work. Got back to Orlando, I believe, and got on the podium there. So I think here it's been a matter of pushing a little too hard, like the boys are talking about, a little string of bad luck, sometimes wanting it too much. I've had a history of sometimes wanting it too much to where I put myself in risky behavior or make mistakes. So I think moving forward into this year, I kind of have some weight off my shoulders with last year's results, meaning that I can breathe a little bit more. I got really tense last year, but at the same time, that doesn't mean we're pushing any less. And I think Long Beach showed that we're hungry, we're pushing. Now it's just a matter of holding back that little amount that you can afford in order to try and get these battle wins.
So this is a question for both Freddie and Matt, and I think this is about driver psychology. If you line for Matt and then for Freddie, same question. If you line up with Freddie again here at Road Atlanta, what can fans expect from you? Do you think about previous incidences, or is it completely blocked out, and do you focus on the task at hand?
I don't think of previous instances. What I do think of, though, is my intel on these other drivers. So for Matt, it's the notes we have on him as a driver, where he places the car, where he does this, where he does that. Obviously, he runs his track really well. And last year had a great line, especially in front of the judges there. So I think all of us have strengths and weaknesses, and I think one of my strengths over the years have been to become a strong mental driver. I think sometimes I'm stronger mentally than I'm a technical driver. So I really try and just focus on the task at hand and try and take emotions out of it. And sometimes it's hard, other times it's easier. And, it's just the name of the game. You're always learning something every single round.
I guess the first thing, if we do line up together and it's actually in battle, I'd make sure to tell him that he's number one from my car. And then after that, visor goes down. It doesn't matter who it is. It really doesn't. You like to say that you put emotion and everything out of it, but I think that realistically, every battle is extremely emotional, and it's just how well you cope with it and how much you turn up versus turn down, and every corner is different, every driver is different. So just try to look at it like that, but whether it's Fredric or this guy or anybody, I don't really care.
And then similar question for Odie. Odie, you seem to have such an even keel, but yet you're one of the most aggressive drivers in the championship. Is just born out of your natural personality, or something that you've developed over time as a competitive driver?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see myself more aggressive behind the wheel. I feel like everyone is, but I don't know. Maybe it's something that being inside the car is so much fun for me, and it takes me away from the running the business aspect and dealing with being a father, all this stuff. I get to really let loose when I'm behind the wheel, and I really capitalize on that when I put the visor down, like Matt was saying. I just get to do what I love to do and put my heart into it, and it kind of is an escape for me. So maybe that's a reason that I get to really kind of push it hard.
All right, getting close to the end here. One more question for Freddie. As a two-time champion, you are now on the cusp of history in matching James Dean and Chris Forsberg as the only three-time champions in Formula Drift. Is that on your mind at all this early in the season, and does that create any kind of additional pressure for you?
I think I said this in Long Beach, but as soon as we got to Long Beach, all that stuff's in the past. It doesn't matter, I think if you only focus on trying to win the title, if you only focus on trying to get on top of the box, then I think you're losing track of the job at hand. And I really try to put that behind me. Of course, I get reminded about this when people ask it, like right now. But it's really, that's just a gravy if you do well. At the end of the day, what will get you there is really working on the details, working on your notes, working on your driving, working on yourself, working with the team. It's all in that nerdy day-to-day hardworking attitude that will get me there. And of course, I would love to rival those guys. Of course, I would love to surpass those guys. Those, Chris and James are absolute icons of the sport, and I'd love to be up there with them. But it's not really something that I think about on the daily.
All right, as we round out the last few questions here, I'm going to put these three together and have you guys answer them. So the first question is, what are your thoughts on the 2022 field so far? Are there noticeable changes in progression from 21 to 22 that you can share? And what changes do you make to your car specifically for Road Atlanta as compared to Long Beach?
I feel like the field of drivers have gotten more similar in terms of performance. A lot of the tricks and the know-how and the knowledge of how to set up cars are now trickled down to every single every single team. So it's kind of more of an even playing field now. I think FD's done a great job of keeping the performance of the tires equal. I think a lot of the up-and-coming drivers have really done their homework in terms of finding out how to set up cars, finding out what's actually important. So it's really anyone's game on the day of. And I think the reason why you see some of the heavy hitters from years past still doing well and not dominating, but usually ending up on the podium is because they do less mistakes. But on any given day here, I think any of these drivers can win, and that becomes more and more true as each season passes.
I'm kind of in line with that, but what it really is something that we all as drivers notice is that getting through top 32 and top 16 isn't as easy of a ride as it used to be. And it's not particularly 2022. It's just all the last handful of years leading up to this year, and we're on that same trajectory that top 32 could be a handful. I mean, I went against Chelsea Denofa top 32 last year. Like, you never know these days. But that was kind of like a statistical thing. But the drivers that are not necessarily consistently top 5 drivers are someone you got to really put a lot of effort into beating these days. Kind of like what Fredric was saying, some of the technology has trickled down and been made very available to all the teams. There's a lot of similarities in the way cars are built now, so guys have access to building their cars very properly as the sport progresses, and it becomes more and more available to everyone, not just the teams that work really hard or spend a lot of money on R&D. So it's becoming more and more difficult to be competitive and just to make your way through the bracket.
I think what I've noticed about the field this year is that there's a lot of rookies. That's the main thing that I've noticed. Rookies are petitioned in, or people moving up, whatever. There's just a lot of new faces, and I think that's great. I think it definitely diversifies the field, and what I really like is that you have to try to qualify. You got to worry about getting a 0. You really have to worry about getting a 65 if that's going to get you in. And that's reminiscent of the old days when you would show up to Long Beach and there would be 72 drivers. And in those days, like, we were at the bottom of the list and we were the ones hoping to qualify. So I feel it for them, and I think that it's a different mindset going into the weekend, knowing that you might not make it to Saturday, that you're going to push that much harder on the practice day. You're going to make it. Every run is very, very serious, and having that big of a field, it's hard to get all your practice laps, and it's even harder to make sure you qualify. So that's something that I've noticed. I think it's great. I think it's good for the sport, and I think it's a testament that the world of drifting is growing and Formula Drift is on its way up, and I hope it continues that way. And then the other part of that question was, what do I do different to my car for Long Beach? Realistically, the only thing that I change is the gear ratio by this much, and I disconnect the rear sway bar. Other than that, same as Long Beach.
I'm going to disconnect my sway bar now.
What's a sway bar?
All right, so a couple fan questions here as we round out the press conference. This can be for everybody, but this was from Lost Media 21. Question for Odie, AKA, and then he filled in his own really fun, cheeky nickname for you, Odie. But what is your race day breakfast, and what do you eat after an event? You guys can all answer.
Whatever Matt is serving at his pit is what I usually eat after the event. We usually don't prepare for eating after the event. Usually it's like order pizza or something with the team, and whatever goes down easy with beer, I guess. Pre-event, I try to eat healthy and at least hearty. So we do usually a fine job of cooking some eggs and just whatever else we can at the house before we leave for the track. So thanks to my wife for keeping me full, I guess, for the majority of the day.
Pre-event, definitely a smoothie, lots of veggies, lots of fruit. Try to have some carbs. I love carbs, but I also try to limit myself as much as possible. And then after the event, Chow, my spotter, he's an amazing cook, and we always cook dinner. So usually it's something pretty good, something with pasta, something with vegetables. And then definitely after the event, the first thing that I do is I go to the cooler and I grab a beer. So that's first.
Well, I try and stick to basic stuff that I know. Nothing. I'm not exploring the local cuisine before the event, but I'm sticking to, I guess, American food. Like trusted. I have some oatmeal in the morning, usually something boring for lunch, and after the event, definitely cold beer with the boys. And as you can imagine, they're big steakhouse guys, so most likely a steakhouse.
All right, at Charlie FCN asks, if you could drift a movie car, which one would it be? Personally, it would be the Interceptor from Mad Max for me.
Ooh, that's a good one. Probably, I don't know, maybe it's between Days of Thunder, Lumina, or what else? Maybe Paul Walker's Supra.
Yeah, that is a tough one, because I usually think that majority of the cars from the movies are cheesy. Like, as car people, we see right through it. Like, hey, these are built weird. So I would pick a cheesy one, probably like the old Pontiac from Knight Rider. Like that thing seems to get down. So why not?
Yeah, definitely not. Don't want to drift this, but drive it. Days of Thunder, Cole Trickle's City Chevrolet, without a doubt.
All right, last question. Looks like the most moronic question we got comes from at Andy Luck 75, but I don't know, you guys tell me. If you had to choose another team to be on outside your own, who would that be?
Oh my goodness. Can I say Ryan Tuerck's team? That's a tough one. Obviously great teams out here. Man. Are you guys taking drivers in? Maybe hard? I don't really know. One of the top teams, I think. Maybe build my own team. How about that?
Yeah, that is a tough question. I'd say build my own team, but that's what I'm doing now. But it seems like Matt and I are on the right page, so if I could pay this guy enough money to where I don't have to do a thing and have a car that's faster than his, I'd take that.
Yeah, I'm with you, Odie, on that. And I guess if I really had to drive an S chassis again, I guess I'd drive yours for you. That'd be cool.
All right, everyone, that brings to close the Road Atlanta press conference. Thank you guys for attending, and have a great weekend.